Michal and Gil, I'm so excited that both of you have agreed to come onto the podcast with me. We had coffee without the podcast many moons ago, and I've followed your journey since, and I've enjoyed watching both of you as Superfy continues to become even more super. So welcome to Coffee with Curtis, first of all.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Excellent. Now, I think for anybody that doesn't know both of you, I'm going to state the first elephant in the room is that you are not only business partners and awesome people, but you are also a husband and wife duo. So maybe we'll cover the future of work when it comes to not the hybrid or work from home, but maybe it's going to be, you know, husbands, wives, partners, girlfriends, boyfriends working together. But we'll cover that later. For everyone who doesn't know you, first, Michal, ladies first, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. So actually it relates to what you just said, because I've spent the last 13 years, I think, in startups, started earlier on in management consulting, and then most of my life in professional life in startups, marketing, biz dev. And the main place was actually the place where I met Gil, which was Trito. Trito was a social health search startup. I was VP marketing and biz dev there, and Gil was VP product there. So actually for us, it was the other way around. First, we worked together and we were very good at working together just as colleagues. And then later on, it evolved to becoming husband and wife. So for us, it's very natural to work together. That's it. After that, I helped a friend start his own startup and then got to Superfy. That's it. That's our lives.
I think we can do another podcast all about, you know, finding love at work.
Well, you know, when we were looking for a VP product, we wanted someone with lots of experience in B2C, and I talked to the recruiters and so on, and I wasn't aware and in any way that I'm actually also finding my husband at the same time. So it was not the intention, trust me.
I love it. So Gil, tell us about you, because you are, in my world, you're one of those people that I consider a brand in your own right, because visually you've always got those wonderful headphones, you've got the wonderful baseball cap, and always a branded t-shirt. So tell us more, Gil.
Well, okay, I'm a product and marketing guy. I manage product teams in various startups. And then I met Michal. I'm trying to make it short, like that, just talking about where we're coming from. And my passion is really creating products that look great, B2C products that look really great and that kick ass. That's what I care about. The product itself, that was always the case for me. And regarding my headphones, I have a lot of headphones. Nobody knows how many, but it's a lot.
Thank you for the introductions. And I think I want to dive straight in, first of all, and just get our listeners acquainted with Superfy. What is Superfy? And also, why did you decide to build it? I don't know who wants to take that first. Maybe Michal, you go first.
So, Superfy. Well, Gil and I were always very curious people, always looking for information and how you can have access to information. And I think that also what led both of us to Trito, because Trito actually brought the wisdom of the crowd around health and gave access to this information for patients. But what we discovered there was that actually people don't want just the stats and the graphs and even the info itself, but in many cases, they just want to talk to someone. They want to get the answer straight from the person who knows, who's been there, and just talk to them directly. And I think that is exactly what led us to start Superfy. And it's interesting because we always felt that it's true not just for health, but for so many topics, you know. I don't know how to say it in a politically correct manner, so I just want a fucking answer, you know. I just want someone to actually give me that answer.
Bleep. Okay.
This Even imagine, the difference between reading a review about a hotel or a restaurant rather than talking straight to the person who actually wrote this review. So it's both user generated content, right? And it's supposed to give you the same value, but it's not the fact that you're actually talking to someone. And recently, we got evidence that we are actually correct in our assumption, because just a few months back, one of Google VPs just said in a conference that they did a research and found that nearly half of Gen Zs don't use Google to search, and they go to social media instead. And the reason, when they try to understand why would people go to TikTok, especially to TikTok, but also to Instagram instead of Google to search, and what they heard back from the users is because they want to talk to people. They want to hear it from people to actually get people's perspective. So this really gave us the stamp, and that's exactly why we started Superfy. And that's what Superfy does, because Superfy is an app that allows you to search for anything, ask anything, and actually be matched immediately with the relevant person to answer you. And then you're in a live chat with them one-on-one. You can talk about it, you can ask more questions, get all the information you want straight from the person, and actually connect it. A lot of times it goes beyond that conversation about the initial context, because you are actually meeting people that are relevant to what you're searching for, but you find out many times that they are relevant to you in other ways as well, and you can become friends or just talk more, and that's the idea.
That is, I think, amazing, and what a journey! And to get the validation from, obviously, potentially one of your biggest rivals, but also perhaps, I know that, and Gil, maybe you'll talk to the product that you do use Google within the actual way that you operate, but I think that's super interesting, and obviously, huge kudos to you guys for building that, because I think you're being a little bit modest.
No, but I think what's mostly amazing is the fact that nowadays people spend on our app 25 minutes a day, which is just crazy, because we just checked the stats for all the leading social media platforms from the second quarter of 22, and we saw that we passed Snap, and we're getting close to Twitter. It's really high, and especially these days, with the competition of people's time on their phone. I remember that when we started, people said, like, why would anyone actually download a new app, and let alone start using it? And now we're talking not about people actually downloading it, registering it, but using it on a daily basis, 25 minutes a day, which is crazy. And we also have these very addicted users, the power users, that are spending hours a day on Superfy. So I think for us, this is the biggest evidence that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And I think, Gil, I think you wanted to add something there.
Yeah, I want to say that I think the most important thing about Superfy is the way that people actually react to the product. So it's not just the stats or the numbers, which are really nice, but the thing is that the love that we get. I mean, the love that app gets on the App Store when they connect to us. They send us daily on the daily feedbacks we're getting from users in our email every morning. Each and every morning is just it's really, really amazing. And to add to that is really at the time they use the app, because again, think of it, these are like questions. You would expect people to just be there, ask a question, after a few seconds get an answer, and that's it. But it's not really a matter of question and answer, it's a discussion. So it starts with with a question about something you care about, something you want to talk about, or really something you want to find out about. And then you suddenly meet a few people. Usually you get a few responses immediately. Within a few seconds, 20, 30 seconds, you get responses immediately. And then you start talking to these people, to chat with them. And it's real people, it's nice people from around the world. And that's, I think, the magic of Superfy. So it's not just the matter of, how many, how much, the numbers. It's really that magic and the fact that people really love the thing. And that's why I'm really confident that this can become really, really great. Because that, for me as a product guy, that's the thing. If people really love your product, if they care about it, if it's for them, then there I see the magic and the chance to really create something really great. The rest, it's money and a lot of work.
I think what's really interesting from a product perspective, Gil, what you're trying to bring out there is that Superfy has emotional intelligence in the way that it operates and the community use it, which is very, very powerful, because that's probably where the stickiness and that 25 minutes and rising comes in, that people feel emotionally connected because of the psychology that they're actually dealing with real people on the other side of the response.
That's true. I think that it's always hard to convey that feeling that's created when you're waiting and you don't know who you'll meet on the other side, and suddenly it's just the right person. He's from across the world, and you're actually the same person. You have the same interests. It's so interesting to talk. I think that creates this very emotional reaction, really, and that's what we're hearing from our users, and that's what makes it addictive, because it's actually connecting people around their interests, around around a specific context, but it's all about the social connections that are created here, definitely.
So I want to delve into some of that in a bit more depth in a moment, but before I do, I want to come back to what you said around millennials stroke Gen Z preferring to interact in this way with a product and with search. And I think the trends that we've obviously seen within, say, customer support, where companies are going to WhatsApp or other direct messaging tools, because you want that direct connection with, and often it might be a bot initially, but you can eventually get to the live agent. You get to the live agent if you really escalate. There is a psychology there that the generation that we're working with today, and the generation that will be dominating the workforce and dominating the consumer world, this is how they behave, and it's the user behavior that I presume is how you're driving product growth.
Right. I think that when, like, us and others that you've mentioned, I think that at first everyone's thought that the reason for this is actually them, like, they want it to be as easy as possible. They don't want to make any unnecessary effort. They want it to be instant, and I think it all went for this. But I think that it's a bit different with Gen Zs than millennials. And with Gen Zs, it's not just about being lazy or trying to get the simplest solution, don't want to work for it, but it's more, like you said, the fact that they are actually eager to go back to humans, to go back to this human connection. Just in a world going all digital, this becomes an even stronger need for them. They become more isolated, of course, COVID and everything, but not just that. So I think that's a big part of it as well. It is about having instant results and having everything work for you, but also a lot about the human interaction there.
I would actually add to that I think that, first of all, we're bringing something new. It was never available. You can never just ring a bell, want to talk about something and get a human to talk to immediately, whatever the subject is. So it is something new. And you talked about Google, naturally, other websites, forums, ChatGPT, all of these things. I think that, first of all, I use a lot of these tools. I use ChatGPT for many things, and naturally, everybody uses Google. The thing is that if you had the chance to have an upgrade, you would always go to people just don't know there's a possibility. We're a small company. We're from Tel Aviv. It's not a huge company yet. But the thing is that it's an upgrade, right? If you're talking about a live person type of thing, chatting with a bot usually on WhatsApp, and then maybe you'll get somebody bored in the support that will come back to you and answer with a few lines. You would always prefer a real person. You would actually want them to come to the room and talk to you, right? That would be the best. Just either here's the support you need, here's the help you need. That's not available. Now we're getting downgraded in the last 10 years into like chatbots where they're not really nice, they're not really helpful, and everything is going to that. So when she said that, the cold digital world, it can help you with many things, but when you really need help and when you want to talk to somebody, naturally I think everybody would prefer to talk to a real person. I mean, would you want a social network full of bots? Would you go to a Facebook full of bots, or the Instagram full of bots, or to see TikTok videos that AI made and just watch them all day long and give them likes? You wouldn't. So that's the thing. We're bringing the real person. I don't think it's directly competing with all of these other things because everything has its own use.
I think what's really interesting about what you said there, Gil, is that you're working, and again, I'm not the product guy here, so you will tell me if I'm saying things wrong, but you're working, I presume, more on the interest graph, that I ask a question and therefore the responses that you're able to bring back to me from real people are from people that are at a high probability of being similar to me, whether it's location, education, interest in social activities or travel, as opposed to searching just random information that is based on either the social graph or just the modern day encyclopedia. Am I on the right lines here?
Yeah, 100%.
Which is powerful because you have people then more connected to the end result, and they're more willing probably to give back. How many of your users who get an answer go on to become feedback providers themselves?
So it's actually very interesting, and it's exactly the reason, because traditionally in forums and Quora, such places, it was a known fact that most of the users just read the content, and only 1 to 3% of the users actually contribute content, either ask questions or answer others. On Quora, I think it's 1% actually, because most of you think of yourself, right? When you go to Quora or forums, you usually just read other people's questions and answers from before the feed, and we don't have this feed at all. So you're only getting pinpoint questions that are sent your way, that the system decided that are relevant to you. And as a result, well, of course, most of the people in Superfy ask questions because that's what you do there. But can you guess what percentage actually answer others?
I'm going to take a stab. Maybe if we're working off such a low industry average, maybe 30%?
So we started early on at 46%. It was very high at the time. Now we're at 85%.
Wow.
85%, yes.
So you're building not only the functionality to search, but you're building this, a probably overused word, but in your case, it's actually true, community.
Certainly, and it's very strange because we're also getting from users the feedback that they feel a part of a community. And why am I saying that this is strange? Because it's actually the opposite from a community. Like, you don't have a feed. You can't read other people's conversations. You only see the questions that you ask and the questions that you answered and your own discussions. It's basically like a chat app. And although that's the case, they still feel a part of a larger community, which is very, very interesting. And I
soon it will be. Soon it will be a real community with the groups feature.
Yeah.
That will really turn it into a...
Gil, tell us more about that. You have a new product feature coming out.
Well, I can't specify a lot because it's not released yet and it's in works. But because I already mentioned it, it's called Super Groups, and it's gonna have 2 tiers. First of all, there'll be like bigger groups. Imagine that you're using the app, asking questions, talking to people, chatting. Basically, Superfy is a chat app, so you're just talking to people about the things you care about, and suddenly you get an invitation for a group about something you really care about, like something that is really, really the things you have to talk about. And then you can join the group and become a group member. So that's one option. That'll be basically the subjects will be delivered from the AI itself. It will find what the subject people are talking about now For example, if there's, the whole Will Smith thing in the Oscars, it happens, everybody wants to talk about it, it will create automatically a group about that, and it will be sent to people who the AI thinks are relevant to that. So that's one thing. The other thing will be actually asking a question, but instead of getting a one-on-one, which is what Superfy does now, you'll have the option to create a group for that. So there are many things that you really want to talk to a single person about. We've seen it being very beneficial in many, many cases. But again, there are many other cases where talking to a lot of people about it to get like a group of support or help with something, or you really want to hear a few people at the same time and have them talk about it, which is a really different dynamic, by the way, than just talking one-on-one. It's different, but it's also important, and that's why we'll add supergroups, so people will be able to ask a question in a group, and then the question will be sent just like today to the relevant people, but they'll join into a single chat room instead of having different separate chats. So that's basically supergroup, and it's a secret. I'm not going to tell you anything about supergroup.
But I do want to mention something that we haven't mentioned, and this is actually already in the app. So we added like a couple of months ago friends feature as well, and this came straight from our users because they kept on asking to be able to save friends, to have favorites, so they can go back and chat with them beyond the initial question that connected the two. And we just received feedback yesterday from a user that is so representative, because he said, wow, I love this app, and it's not just for advice, it's not just to get answers for my questions, but I actually made such good friends here, and I've been talking all night to this one friend that I met, and thank you Superfy. And I'm telling you, people, if you want a place to actually get to know people around the things that you care about, this is the place.
That's so powerful. I mean, I guess also a lot of responsibility for both of you in terms of the way that operates, because obviously with everything we have good and potentially bad, and I think there is obviously a lot of safety and boundaries within the product that probably need to exist to ensure that safe space for everybody who's interacting there. How do you sort of deal with that issue? Because it is a big one.
So actually, this is something that we were surprised how early on we had to tackle. I think one of the first things when we just launched the alpha, really just to get the sense of what's going on, okay, we need to work immediately on automatic filters and this reporting blocking mechanism and all of that. But I think this is one of our greatest accomplishments as well, because we have so many ways to deal with this at the moment that I will start with the end result. We are such cleaner, if I can call it like this, a cleaner platform than other places. And if you look at the reviews, you see that people talk about people feeling safe here. They're always saying how nice people are on the app, and I think by saying that they actually mean that you don't feel at risk. And if you read the complaints there, what you see is that the number one complaint on our reviews is of people that we blocked from the app, and how strict we are about who can be on the app and who can use and what is offensive. This is very important for us. So again, we have automatic filters that filter out bad content, and then we have the users actually cleaning it for us, because if the system sees that a few users report the same person, it automatically blocks it, and warning, and like a lot of different levels of it. I think that it's a bit easier for us as well to control it, because here we are the one that are actually making this matching, so we can filter out a lot of bad content on the way. And also I think that it's less encouraging for users to actually try to do bad stuff, because you can't really control who you're directing it to. So
That's really interesting. So, from a product perspective, you have that digital footprint of every user leading to that that conversation between two potential users. So, the propensity for that abuse actually is probably lower.
right.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you that it's 100%. Of course, there is no
Of course
place,
not, but we live in a
and
world where that is. Yeah.
it's continuously improving as well. But and people users become more and more creative, but then we become more and more creative as well in responding to their creativeness, and also the AI gets better and becomes more creative, understands more. But I think that this is one of our accomplishments. I think we did really good there.
So the internet itself, and particularly social media and the conversation that's taking place around the way that the digital world interacts within our lives, has probably never been more under the microscope over the past, say, 4 or 5 years. Because of the political landscape, the social landscape. We obviously have the pandemic, which brought its polarizing effects as well. You're sitting on a space which is essentially a sort of current time bomb in terms of the conversations going on. And I think trust in search actually is something which is on the table. It's something that I think users are thinking about, because we've all become perhaps less empathetic to experts because of the conversation going on online. And maybe we shouldn't have been like that, but it's the conversation that's taking place. We've also got a decline in trust in the organizations that run the way that we interact with information online. And so there is, even within, I presume, your world, that open to abuse issue when it comes to the validity of responses and the feedback given, and call it fake news, what's real, how can I trust what I see, watch, hear, receive from you? I think you've partly answered this, but I'd like to go a bit deeper on it.
Mm-hmm. So I think first, with regards to fake news, I think one of the biggest things that is causing fake news in other platforms is the fact that they are public, and that there is a part of show off, to the crowd, and the one is feeding the other, and it's becoming a phenomena. And I think there again, the advantage that for us it's private conversations, one on one, actually lowers this risk a lot, significantly, because at the end it's just between you two. So why would you give fake news answer? Nobody else will see it, nobody else will respond to it, you will not be able to make this a phenomena. And I think that for them, in their perception of the users, it's completely different when they're now with an individual who they see his face, he has his character as well, and they know who they talk to. It changes the dynamic there, and the motivation to actually spread fake news. So that's one thing. But also, you're talking about the validity. So at the end, yeah, it's people answering other people. So just as it been all the years on forums, on social media, it was all about, at the end, you as a person evaluating the responses that you're getting. So we're trying to make this better, but by actually matching relevant people, which is supposed to give you a better quality, and that's what we see as well. And you're also always receiving a few responses. The average is like 4 responses per
Interesting.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're always you can evaluate yourself, like who should you go with or not. But also what Gil mentioned before, like we're not so much an app for getting fact checked. Okay, it's like if you want that, you go to Google, you go to GPT, to ChatGPT now. But this is about getting people views. You ask for recommendations, for their views, for their advice, and so on. So there is no right or wrong answer here in most cases. It's all about you seeing who the person giving you advice, being able to actually ask him more questions, which make it even, you can validate it yourself through the conversation. And I think that's a big part of it. And at the end, again, when we're checking the results, not just people's satisfaction, but also we're doing randomly and with algorithmic checks of the discussions themselves. And we see that have very high percentages of good answers as well, of relevant conversations with good content. So the results speak for themselves.
I'll actually add to that I think it's first of all, yeah, it's not a shareable thing. It's not, you can't share it, and it's not something that can spread like and it's not posting. You're not posting anything. You're not posting like fake news about COVID or whatever. And on the other hand, it actually promotes discussion. It's all about talking to. So maybe sometimes, for example, I asked something about recently about the war in Ukraine. So naturally, most of the people that answered me were pro-Ukraine, but there was somebody from Iran that was pro-Russian. He tried to explain to me historically what happened. But again, it was a discussion. We talked together. We talked about it. It wasn't. He couldn't just spread the word, and suddenly all kinds of children would see the fake news about what's going on. It's not the platform for that. It's not actually possible even.
So this is your superpower at Superfy, actually, the validity and the trust in the responses that you're getting actually is much higher because of the trust of the network, the community, the digital footprint, and context is everything. I know that I'm there and I'm asking one person their feedback on something. And obviously we can use the old cliche, it's a pinch of salt. I can decide, do I trust what's being said? Do I agree what's being said? How do I interact with that feedback? So I think that's really interesting. I guess there's always boundaries, like, when it comes to, say, to healthcare or financial advice, there's always going to be that caveat. But again, it's context.
Yeah, but even there, by the way, I saw many times conversations where the people that asked the question and received an answer actually asked the person, how do you know? Like, where did you find this info from? And because it's a conversation, again, they can actually do the validation by themselves, which is wonderful. One of the main challenges in Google actually is a known fact that people don't know how to search. Many times they don't know how to actually write the search query to get relevant results. And the fact here that even if you don't write the perfect question, you can get to the information you wanted and to the validation through the conversation.
So one of the buzzwords in the market at the moment, obviously, is ChatGPT. I haven't yet used it myself. I've been following somebody.
Wow.
I know. It's like on my to-do list, like go and use ChatGPT. What do you both make of this innovation in AI inspired abilities that is now open to us?
I want to start before Gil. Gil has a lot to say about that, but I want to say that even before we talk about Superfy and what will it do to the world, I can tell you that it dramatically changed our personal lives as well. Like, it's so dominant in our life. Like, Gil is living ChatGPT all day long. And then, he worries at night, like, what would happen to the kids? What will they do to work? Because this will replace everything. So
Michal, this is not an advertisement for me to now go and do it. You're telling me all the reasons why I'm going to have sleepless nights.
I'm just telling you my experience with having Gil on my side with ChatGPT, and now I will let Gil talk about ChatGPT. This was just the intro.
I have no comment. I have nothing to say. Well, I think that first of all, I think it's pretty much amazing, and we've been using the technology for some time on Superfy in the back end, and there's bot answers that are using GPT technology to get when you have a really hard question, something that our users cannot answer, for example, something in
Interesting.
physics. So then the bot comes in and just gives you some response until you will get a response from a real person. So we've known the technology, but ChatGPT specifically, the new version. I think it's first of all, I think it's pretty amazing. It's very different. Again, it can really help you with writing. It can really help you with summaries and everything related to writing stuff. I think it's really great, and it's the opposite of Superfy in many ways. It's completing us perfectly, because it will never tell you which movie is better, or which politician is saying the right thing, or what app to use, or it will never give you that. It's never telling you what it thinks. It's just, it can write things about a lot of things, but it'll never give you a perspective, even an AI perspective of what you should do. And then Superfight's the opposite. It's actually mostly that. You get what people are telling you, what they think, and what is better, and how. So it's really different. It's funny that people compared it. When it came out, everybody was asking us, well, what is it replacing Superfy? And I think it might be. It's like Google. There are many things that you can ask in Google, and at the same time get a response to Superfy, but the responses will be different. And here I think it's basically the same. There are things you can ask on the ChatGPT, and I use it myself, as I said, quite a lot. It's interesting, more than useful. It's very interesting, but it's also useful in many things. And on Superfy, it's really different. You'll actually get a person there, and you reach to somebody. There's a connection there, and as Michal said, lots of friendships come out of that. So it's really different. Regarding the future of ChatGPT, I think this is going to do a really big change in the way people live, especially in the workplace, I think.
Wow.
So a big chunk of the stuff we do,
in what way? In what way specifically?
Well, if you just think about writing, about summaries of stuff, but even calculation. I've been using it for many very strange. I was planning actually to do a few TikTok videos about that. All kinds of awkward things you can do with that I've found ChatGPT to be useful. For example, for a diet, you just tell it, I ate this amount of this and this amount of this and this amount of this. How many calories did I just eat? And it can answer you. And that's not one of the use cases for it, right? Or many other things. So
Gil, it's such a good thing to be talking about on January the 1st. 95% of people listening will have a New Year's resolution to lose weight. So it's good to know ChatGTP will help.
But I think also
provide support in any way, or to really tell you which, for example, if it's a diet we're talking about, so which diet is better, they will not be able to do that. And that's what actually people want. They want to ask, how did you lose weight? What diet did you use? And then you start talking about it. That's not something you can get from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And on Google, there are lots of ads if you ask that on Google, naturally.
I think that also, just talking about what it will do to the workforce, I've heard already from some developers. I haven't heard it from our developers yet, but that they're using it to write code, that it actually generates the code for them.
Yeah.
And
they are using it already.
Yeah, and I think that the entire education world will change dramatically, because already so many students are using it to write their all their papers and to do homework. So I think people will really need to rethink, how do we teach people these days, when students and pupils these days, this can be done. All can be done for them. A lot from the marketing, like Gil said, copy and copywriting, and the content writing and emails, and so much more. I think it will evolve to many places. You can think about lawyers, contracts, like there's so much of it that can change based
Mm,
on this.
mm.
But also, I agree with Gil, like, I agree, we've been discussing a lot about what is the meaning of ChatGPT for Superfy. Um, and I think like this is what we started with, that the more the world becomes more digital and more automatic and more AI based, the more people need the human connection as well. And it's two different things that go together. I think it's actually complementary. I think that once the initial buzz will go, will move through, we will see that it actually sends the people even more to find human connections and to strive for real people.
The thing I was reading the other day is that obviously AI is not good at comedy. For example, there was a whole article on that. But I think the bigger story behind that and how we link it back to Superfy is there's going to be areas of our lives and work and play and education that will just be more efficient to do it through these new channels. But there is a layer, and it's maybe the most important layer, that it will never ever replace, which is the nuance, the emotional intelligence, the opinion, and that can only come from real people.
Yeah, I think it does a good match, but like pretending to have that, but it will never be as honest. It will as sincere. You can never treat it like you'll always suspect where is it coming from, because it's not coming from someone real. And I think that's the thing. And uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Gen Z will not. I guess they won't trust it. Like just work with it. On the other hand, they will use it for to write their homework, which they already are. I know from a lot of our users, they already are doing it.
I'm so jealous of Gen Z. All those hours of my life lost writing essay after essay after essay.
Exactly. But
so,
also,
so
just to wrap this up, I just want to say, if we talked about the 25 minutes, can you imagine people chatting 25 minutes a day with a chatbot, with a bot, with an AI? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening for the younger generation as much as we perceive them as very digital. They still don't want to talk to a bot. And I think that the reason that they're conversing over 25 minutes is because of the human connections. It's not about anything else. That's the reason. So that's it.
And then also that Gen Z, they don't really appreciate big tech and AI and all these. They're a bit afraid of it, and maybe with a good reason. uh, I think that's part of the reasons why they really do want to connect to other people.
look, I think it talks to probably the big crisis that isn't spoken about, which is the mental health crisis that is
Yeah.
in our generation. And actually, people actually do want the opposite to what is being thrown at us, which is more digital. Yes, it has its place and its power, and it's obviously incredible. But actually, the rebellion is we need that human connection. That's the thing that's going to help, the mental health crisis, and that's how we've operated for millennia, and that is deep within our brain's DNA, that we come together as tribes, as people, and we need that connection. I want to talk, as we sort of start to wrap up, around the future of search. A lot of talk around voice being a very important factor within that market. So obviously we have the early days of Alexa, Siri, the Google Assistant. How do you view search developing over the next, say, 5-10 years? And how do you view things like voice making an appearance perhaps in the future within Superfy?
So I will start and maybe then give Gil to talk about Superfy, but I think it's basically related to what we just talked about. And there was actually an AI guy that published an article. He checked because, once ChatGPT was released and everyone started talking about it, immediately everyone said, okay, now Google really, they have a serious problem because this will replace search. And I can definitely understand where it's coming from. But then he showed the different searches that people actually make. And he showed that not all searches are equal in terms of money, at least. So that the real revenue generating searches for Google are searches not about facts and stuff and historic stuff or that sort of things that ChatGPT is really, really good at. But it's actually about this, exactly the same place where we are, which is the recommendations, finding a restaurant, finding a hotel. That's the places where Google makes its money. And these are the places that the ChatGPT searches are just not good enough, again, for all the reasons that we already talked about. And when you're talking about the future of search, I definitely think that with the more factual searches, it will go more and more to something that is similar to ChatGPT. And I imagine that all the voice related products will be based on the same type of technology, because that's basically, what is ChatGPT? It's basically a better Siri without the voice, right? Or a better Alexa without the voice. So you just need to connect the voice, and the voice is the easiest part there these days. So it's going there for sure. But I think, again, you will still have the gap of all the places that the AI can't give the answer to. And of course, I believe that Gil will say the same. We definitely plan to add voice to Superfy as well, not just voice, but also video as well. But it's so important because that's how they communicate these days. I think this is something that we didn't initially do because of the fact that all of our technology is based on the understanding from the text themselves, but also the technology has evolved so much, and now it's pretty much easy to turn voice into text and to learn from that as well. So it's a natural progress, of course, for Superfy.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that. That first of all, yeah, we're going to add a voice chat. It's more like getting an answer in voice or in video, but that's really different than what you asked. I think that first of all, voice with search is many times is private. So when you search in Google, I can really see you already can on any computer just use voice to text and ask Google on voice. People don't do it, and I think it's because it's first of all it's really quick to just type in a few words on Google, and secondly it is private. A lot of the time it's private, or you don't want to, and nobody wants to hear all your searches, and so I think that I don't really see that changing. Same goes to ChatGPT. Just the mechanism to move from text to voice is really simple these days. I mean, any iPhone can do it really well, like dictation and all that. So I think that's not really the thing. I think that search will go into, as Michal said, more factual types of things, which is if it's short and you want a really quick response, just a link to what's the name of the company, what's the name of the actor, what's the website for this and that. That's Google. That will be really good for that. If you want to get a long response, then you go to ChatGPT because it doesn't know how to answer really short form. It really answers long about most things. It's really prolific, and so that's why if you're asking about a specific actor in a movie that you forgot the name of the lead actor in a movie, Google will just give you the name really quick. That means I wouldn't go into ChatGPT for that. It would not be convenient, and also not to Superfy because again, it's just really a fact. So I'm thinking that what the thing is that there'll be an option for short form, long form, and maybe somebody to help you write the text, or give you the ideas, definitions, more information. And then there's the human side, which we actually hope to become, to be that third space in search, searching for the person that can help you.
I think what could be very, very powerful within Superfy is I've already got the credibility and the validity of somebody who is human and has the right feedback for me. But the thing that still can't be done through text, that voice maybe will add the layer to, is the tonality that will give to an answer. So if I say, what's the best restaurant in Lisbon? And I get 3 answers, but one of the answers is, oh my God, you have to go to that one, is different to saying, go to Ronaldo's.
You're definitely, it's so true, really. By the way, as an anecdote about talking about the future of search, again, these are things that everyone is now talking about because of ChatGPT and its impact on Google. So people asked, like, Google has its own technology that is similar to ChatGPT as well, and why why aren't they exposing it more and using it more the same way? And the reason is that actually I think the model needs to change because now for Google, if they give you the best answer, the most accurate answer at the top, you will not click any link. So and their way of making money is making you click on links.
Sure.
So that's the challenge for them at the moment, like, because that's where the world is going. The world is definitely going on not looking through different links and now starting searching for the answer myself, but I just want to get the answer at the top and that's it. And I think that's the main challenge, and that's talking about the future of search. That's where it's going.
So I think what's really amazing about the space that you sit on as we look to the future is that this is a topic that will continue to evolve and develop. There is huge opportunity for the whole spectrum of this particular domain, and the whole world of wanting to understand the best advice, the right facts, the right information in that digital sphere is only going to continue to be a very strong part of people's lives. I think you're sitting at an incredibly exciting interface and time. So, absolute kudos, as I said at the beginning, to you guys for building Superfy, and your journey continues to inspire me. Is there anything that you'd like to sort of, I guess, finish off in terms of updating our audience on what you feel for the next, say, five years of Superfy's journey, or where to watch out for the next big trends?
Gil, you wanted to say? No, I can tell you that, first of all, if you're talking 5-year time, so we're hoping that we will conquer the world by then and really be able, to connect everyone anywhere, not just Gen Zs, but the entire all generations, and really everywhere, to get you just to the person you want to talk to. I'm hoping in a more not outside of the world of Superfy and tech. I hope that in 5-year time, we will see maybe a more peaceful world as well. I think we've gone through some really difficult years, a few very difficult years in the world, and I'm hoping that the technological evolutions and also what's happening on the economy as well will actually maybe change the trend a bit and bring the world to a bit of a better place.
I can only join to that. I think that was great, so I'll just join to that.
So whilst we're all hoping for world peace, in the meantime, I'm wishing both of you a very successful 2023. We are on the first day of the new year, and continue to go from strength to strength in everything you're doing, and providing people around the world with the ability to have incredible answers to the most burning questions in their lives. And thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was so lovely to talk to you, and it was very interesting as well. I think we could have gone more and more as much as you do want.